Hi guys, welcome to episode 31 of our Mortal Realms review series. Yay. I'm Wargamer Dad and this is my Wargamer wife. I'll say that, she hasn't played any Wargames yet, we're hoping to get the first one done soon. This week we'll be reviewing issue 31 in a move that surprises nobody. I'll stop them, hold on, stop cracking this. Look at this. Obviously the yeah, I did. I was right. It's obviously the best bit of the entire model, the base. It's all about that base. I like this one says with holes. It's a base with holes. Next we've got this guy who is fantastic looking, to be honest. This is the Lord Exorcist. Frankly, an awesome looking guy with a lot of detail. As always with GW, the details are very nice and deep, so it will take a lot of layers of paint. The copy on this one is 2018, so the model's less than 2 years old. And you can really tell just because of the quality of the stuff that's on there. Do you want it, maybe?
Yabba dabba.
Retails for about £20, so with $7.99 being the cost, you're saving... Sorry, brain fell there. £12 and a penny, which is a very good save. With this one, you're getting a model for less than half price. Again, I'll say that all the prices I'm quoting are the ones that I find on GW's website. Yes, you'll be able to get it somewhere cheaper than that. You always can. Whether you can get it somewhere for cheaper than $7.99 is another matter. What do you say?
No, I'm just looking at how it goes together. There.
It's usually an easy build, which yeah, it's an easy build.
I was just wondering where this bit goes on. I think it goes on there.
What bit?
That, because
The
it's got
swirly.
surfaces. Yeah.
Goes in the.
Yes, it goes on the shield thingy. That goes on the.
It goes in, yeah. It's got those pages, so it goes there. You've got a little swirly bit there, and you've got a little swirly magical mist coming out.
That does actually look quite reasonable to build, actually. That one.
Yeah, these one a lot of the single figures, whilst they're not technically easy to build because there's only one variant of them, they are basically easy to build because they only go together one way.
Compared to the spirit hosts that I've been building.
Yeah, the spirit hosts are an old model and are just very difficult to make and don't hold up very well. She's been building spirit hosts and a lot of other things, so that's why at some point hopefully we're going to have a battle. Where are we? Yep, page 31. As always, fantastic cover art on the front. As always, signed by our very own Lord Exorcist himself, Ian. And on page, I want to go straight into the Lord Exorcist, giving you an idea of what we've got here. It's got a quick rundown of his equipment. He's got a redemption stave. The thing coming out of the... Oh yeah, there's a face on it as well. The thing coming out of the out of his stave is an errant soul. And I don't know if you can see it there, but if you look very carefully, there's a face just there. Let me try to just get some focus. Can I get into focus? Can I fuck? But it's actually... That stream of magic is actually a soul either escaping or being sucked into.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
The redemption stave.
A bit easier to see in the picture than on the model, so maybe you can hold that.
Yeah. The question is, well, that's the thing, is like, is it with focus? It used to focus much more easily. Oh, there's stabby bits in it. You've got the redemptor casket, which is this bit here that the model goes in. The soul scales, which are the two skulls on top of it, the Tome of Exorcism, his book, and the Anvil of Icons, which is... Oh, and Anvil Icons. So he's got Sigmarite icons hanging off of his raiments, so that's cool. Gives a quick explanation here of what he does.
Yep, I see.
Yeah. Tome of Exorcism. The Lord Exorcist's tome contains the words and incantations required to banish demons and exorcise ghosts. Banishment. Curse spawn of the dark gods rightly fear the Lord Exorcist, for the celestial priests have spent countless hours studying the spells and incantations required to banish demons. By uttering carefully selected words of power, they are capable of obliterating the form of a demon. Exorcism. The Lord Exorcist carry the light of order, channeling celestial energy to destroy incorporeal foes. Even the arrogant god Nagash has been forced to take note of their power, for they are capable of banishing even the most hateful of his undead spirits into the ether. And it gives a brief description. All Lord Exorcists were holy men in their former lives, and the holy rites, able to perform miracles and holy rites before they came to the notice of Sigmar. They use these powers to fight the enemies of order. Since being reforged, these powers have increased tenfold and can now be used to, they can now destroy demons and ghosts with carefully intoned words of power. So that's pretty cool. Next we've got Magic in the Mortal Realms. Do you want to read this one, baby?
Whole thing?
That bit.
Magic that suffuses each of the mortal realms is harnessed by spellcasters from every race, and each has their own view on how best to use it. Not all such magic is controllable, however. Since the Necroquake erupted, many spells have come to life and now hunt those who once cast them.
Yep. There are living spells, and it's all got a bit wacky. This one covers celestial magic and gold magic. Celestial holds sway in the realm of the heavens, Azir, and gold is the heaviest of all the magical colours. This forms the magic containing metallurgy and transmutation, strongest in the realm of metal shaman. Gold magic is often utilised by wizards and alchemists. Chronomatic cogs is a series of gears given shape and placed in perfect order by the magic of Azir. And then you've got Quicksilver swords forged from the gold magic of Shaman. The Quicksilver swords slice through the air as they fly towards their target. So you've got two spell descriptions there. I'm wondering about we'll have a rules for them later. Next we've got Amber Magic and Bright Magic. Amber Magic is the magic of life and is most powerful in gore. The Amber Magic is wild and untamed. Its laws concern hunters and hunted, the beasts and prey, and the feral aggression of nature. The magic is wielded by Uruk shamans who call on its power to infuse their eyes with primal rage, allowing them to undertake great feats of strength and savagery.
Standard magic nature, really, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, Amber Magic, I think was considered nature magic, but anyway. Well, mostly about strength and that, and then Bright Magic is of the realm of Akshi, and it's basically fire magic. When you think of your basic fireball wizard, that's what these guys do. It's one of flames and burning passion, of flesh searing fireballs and boundless fury. Bright magic shimmers like a heat haze and smoulders like burning coals. Apparently it's popular in the city of Hallowheart, and the battle mages employed by the city have immolated countless foes. You've got two spells there. Ravenix Gnashing Jaws. Eternally hungry, the predator spell known as Ravenix Gnashing Jaws streaks through the sky searching for victims. And then we've got the Burning Head. Created from the magical fires of Actually, the Burning Head ignites flesh and bone and even emotions as it scorches across the battlefield. Those not burned alive are filled with a burning passion, blood boiled with rage as they charge foes. So that's pretty cool.
So fire magic and nature magic. Pretty much.
Kind of. It's more fire magic and strength magic. There's a whole thing of like rah and destruction, which is one of the orders. Where nature magic has a bit of that, but this is more Rag.
No, the amber magic.
No, the amber magic is more Rag. heavily used by Orc. Obviously, we've got how to build a Lord Exorcist. Of course, we have got the clipper safety rules. You wouldn't want to slip and take off an entire arm. As I say, the Lord Exorcist is fairly simple. Whilst he's technically, I don't think he counts as an easy to build model. He is certainly actually an easy to build model. It's like just slot the things in.
Well, for one thing, you can look at him and pretty much know what you're going to do and how he's going to fit together.
Yeah, GW
Instructions aren't that neat, are they?
No, GW two sets of models basically. Ones that are difficult. Ones that are difficult to build, and ones that are custom to build. They're kind of their standard models. Yeah, ones where you can customize whatever you want, or the ones that are more of an adult one, and then the ones that are actually very simple and easy to build, which is aimed a lot of the time at the younger gamers or people who don't want to spend hours putting them together. You've got less optionality in some of them, but it does mean that they can make them look better because they only have to occupy a single pose. Whereas the multi-part kits and the big guys, like the model of Nagash, which is massive. They might have a few alternative bits, but they're massive and hard to build. So
there are build that for somebody though.
There are you can have it for your collection at some point if you want.
Far too expensive, I think. I'm more thinking somebody else spends the money and I build it for them,
Fair enough, but this guy is very much in the easy to build frame. Next we've got the paint guide. It's suggesting Reikland Flesh Shade, Agrax Earth Shade, and it's covered the name of one of the things it's suggesting. So that's probably non-oil. It's got 3 paints there, all the three shades there. I think it's I know it's suggesting Reikland Flesh Shade and Agrax Earth Shade, but it's entirely covered the darker one. But that's almost certainly non-oil. Well done, guys. Oh, yeah. And you've got Retributor Armour, Stormhost Silver, Corex White and Cantor Blue, Rakkar Flesh, Abaddon Black, Lead Belcher Corn Red, Dryad Bark and Mephiston Red. So it's suggesting you use every paint you've got. So there you go. So you've got all those, and it's basically colour it gold, dry brush over it silver, paint the cloak blue, and more stuff blue, and yeah, basically running through the entire paint scheme from A to Z. Which by the end of it, you're going to have a fairly complete, or if not completely painted, model. There will be some other bits that you can do to it. But you can use that colour guide to get you a fairly complete model. Next, they've given us the stats of the Lord Exorcist. His wounds 5, move 5, save 3+, bravery 9, so that's respectable. The redemption stage gives you a range of 2+, attacks 4+, and +3 to hit, +3 to wound. With -1 to rend and D3 damage. So that's respectable, giving you a potential of 12 hits. So that, again, that's for one figure, potentially 12 hits is respectable. Even if you roll the minimum, you're rolling 4. So again, if you succeed with the hits and you succeed with the wounds, you've got a potential of 4 hits, or 4, on the low end, 4 damage on the low end, which is still respectable. You'll probably roll somewhere like that. You'll probably roll somewhere between the average on that one. Obviously with 3+, you're likely to roll hits. With 3+, you're likely to roll wounds because those are reasonable. And with the D3, you don't know where that's going to go because that's much more random. But you're almost certainly going to end up with a wound or 2, possibly more, possibly somewhere around like 5 or 6. Obviously, jumping through all the hoops, you'll end up with the lower end, but you've got some good stats there. Abilities: the Redemptor Casket. At the start of the shooting phase, roll a dice for each demon or Nighthaunt unit within 6 of this model. On a 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So that's just an automatic thing that happens. That's cool. and that's on top of the amount of wounds he does. So that's going to start to add up with all the other wounds quite quickly. And then magic. This model is a wizard.
Harry.
Yeah, he's more like a cleric really, but he's a wizard, Harry. You've got Purifying Blast as your spell. Casting value of 5. If successfully cast, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 6 of the caster. Add that unit's bravery characteristic to the roll. If the result is then less than 10, that unit suffers D3 wounds. Half the bravery cast characteristic, rounding down, of death and demon units. So that's quite hench. You can see why they need that round down, because a lot of the death units have a bravery of 10, which isn't because they're brave, it's because they're dead. They've got not much once you're dead, death seems to lose its sting.
Not much to lose.
Keywords, we've got Order Celestial, Human, Stormcast Eternal, Sacrosanct, Hero, Wizard, Lord, Exorcist, which is what you'd expect. And here we've got a breakdown of his spells. Again, they're quite clearly showing you've got a 6-inch radius, gives you a 12-inch diameter, which once battle gets a bit messy is a lot more nasty than you think. And again, they're showing the same thing with Purifying Blast. They're both AoE spells, so you can just keep them protected and march them through. Now we've got the stats for the Guardian of Souls, which are one of the ones that Wife has. Do you want to read that? Very good.
Right, melee weapons. You've got a Chill Blade with a 1-inch range, 3 attacks, plus 3 to hit, plus 3 to wound, minus 1 rend, and 1 damage. And it's got the Maul of Judgment, again a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, plus 3 to hit, plus 3 to wound.
Those are both
No rend?
No rend.
And 2 damage.
2 damage. Those are both pretty respectable. You've got 3 attacks, and +3/+3 means there's a reasonable chance of them landing, giving, with damage 1, if you do 3 damage that's not bad. The second one's 2 attacks, a good chance of them landing. And again, with damage 2, that's potential of 3 damage on one, 4 damage on the other, for 5 in total. Obviously, the rend helps, and the lack of rend means anybody with armour is more likely to save, but you likely get a wound in here and there. Potentially more. Plus, then you've got the abilities.
Well, they can fly.
Yep.
They're ethereal, which is creatures whose bodies have rotted away are difficult to harm with ordinary weapons. Well, yeah, there's no
Yeah.
So you ignore modifiers, positive and negatives, when making save rolls for attacks
That's
that
good.
target this model. Yeah, that sounds... well, with a positive. And the Nightmare Lantern, is that one of the...
That's what he's holding there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. That one's got the Nightmare Lantern. Do I have him over there? I don't remember putting him together.
You haven't put him together. He might have been one of the earlier ones, but
yeah, okay.
I don't know. We'll get the whole set out at some point.
So this one has the Nightmare Lantern and the Cursed Light of Nagashizar? Nagashizar, okay. Shizzle. Bound within a Nightmare Lantern invigorates the dark souls of any night haunts it illuminates, which adds 1 wound roll for attacks made with melee weapons used by friendly night haunt units that are within 12 inches of the model.
So that's a 24-inch range, and you've got to think, if you put, with your, for example, your spirit hosts, there's like 3 of them a base, but they'd only have 1 attack each. But with like the guys who've got the pokey rat, the rat, death of rats guys, it's actually Horoscopes, I've been told, where they come in large numbers. If you've got 10 of them, that's 10 extra attacks. If you've got a unit of them one side, and a unit of your basic night haunt guys the other side, and you've got units of 10 or 20 of them, you're getting 1 attack per. But no, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks. Yeah. So with each wound roll you make, you add 1 to the dice. Sorry, I was still thinking the add +1 to dice, but even that, the bigger unit you got, the more effect it'll have, because when you make the wound roll, you add 1, so you beat whatever you've got. And the way it works is you've got 3+ to wound. So you're rolling a dice and you roll 2, you would then add 1 to it, and it would be 3, and therefore you would have wounded. If you rolled a 1, you'd have add 1 to it, it'd be a 2, and therefore you wouldn't have moved it.
Yeah.
But that's why it says add to the dice rolls, because theoretically that's about where it's supposed to work. Or if it makes the math easy, you can just subtract 1 from the 2 wound rolls and say, look, I need 2+ to hit. Whatever way you want to do it, doesn't make much difference.
Do you want me to read everything,
Yeah,
or
read
just
them.
yeah?
Well, if you read
What's the most?
the fact that he's a wizard, and then
Yeah, well, he's a Harry. I mean, a wizard.
and then you read. You can just. I tend to just read the law. The description is cool. I tend to just read what he actually does.
The spectral lure,
Yeah.
channeling the unholy lights of this nightmare lantern, the
You
guardian,
have to speak
summons
up everyone.
forth the spirits of the dead.
Which is cool.
So, spectral lure has a casting value of 6.
Which is a fair average.
If successfully cast, pick a friendly summonable night haunt unit wholly within 24 inches of the caster, which is quite a respectable.
Which is
respectable
48
distance,
inches. It's
so
going to be bigger than most. It's going to be.
pretty
It's
much
going to
anything on
be
your board.
almost all of a battlefield for a full 6x4 board. If you're playing with a smaller board, which a lot of people do because you can, you're going to be covering the entire board most of the time.
So you can either heal D6 wounds that have been allocated to that unit, or if no wounds have been allocated to the unit, you can return a number of slain models to it that have combined wound characteristics equal to or less than the roll of a D6.
So if you've got 1 wound, guys, and you roll 6, that's 6 guys back. If they've taken wounds and you roll 6, you heal 6 wounds. It depends on, it depends on the unit, but it means that if you've got Nagash, for example, who's got a ton of wounds, but he's taken a lot, you could give him 6 back. If you've got your 1 wound spots, again, you can roll them and they get 1, and they get one of them comes up from the ground again. So he's pretty cool. It's worth knowing, because they have these abilities, the ethereal and the fly, almost nothing in the Nighthorn army, nothing I'm aware of actually, gives any positive armor buffs, because it's useless to them. So yeah, it's sad that you don't get positive armor buffs, but it's not really going to affect your army if you're playing pure Nighthorns. If you were to, example, play Nighthorns and demons, and the demons had something to add, it wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't do any good to your Nighthorns, even if it's qualified under the keywords.
So what does damage them?
Oh no, that wouldn't that's not about damage.
No, but I mean, what does thing as
what does
most physical stuff doesn't?
Most physical stuff will damage them as normal, but it won't get any bonuses. So these rends, and like you saw previously, I have this guy has rend. He won't get that rend. So it's hard. It's not impossible for mortal to damage them, but it is harder. Some guys have weapons with like 3 rend or 4 rend, and again, this gets rid of all that, making them harder to kill.
Just because it says they're difficult to harm with the ordinary weapons.
Yeah, but what it means by that is some of the guys with magic weapons, which is, for example, some of the guys that have come with this magazine, particularly the guys with the funny shaped hammers, their weapons will harm it, and a lot of magical weapons,
Right, so magical weapons as opposed to
can harm it.
standard physical.
It'll say on the weapon, it'll say, ignores ethereal, or ignores ignorings, or whatever. Yeah, but it does that thing. I mean, that and the fly, the model can actually technically fly, but some of them you might see flying through the air. Ghosts do that, but it's also included to represent the ability to pass through objects as well, because fly allows you to ignore terrain, so they all have that as well. And there's your explanations there.
No, I'm not tired at all.
And then here's the basics. In this one, we've got some proper rules. We've got proper rules in the last one, and now we're getting proper rules in this one. Oh, damn it. I'm getting this a lot. I don't know if you guys are knowing this. In the recent prints, a lot of the pages are sticking together so that when you open them, it tears the hole all the way back to the edge of the page. If you're not aware, you can go down to most newsagents, some newsagents, and most places like WH Smith, most
Stationary stores, yeah.
most stationers, and you can get little paper rings that are meant to go over those and reinforce
Stickers.
them. They're adhesive. They are stickers. They stick to, and you can basically just stick it over over the gap to fill the hole, or you can just get the plastic A4 sheets
Or you
to put them in. You can use sellotape, but that's a bit of a pain. And that's a fairly easy way to repair them. You can sellotape the whole thing up, just hole punch it if you've got a hole punch. There are ways to repair it, and there are ways to keep it going for what you want to keep going. Yeah, I don't know. It's something about the quality, particularly the first few pages on them. The last 3 issues they've stuck together and ripped. Don't know what that's about. Guys.
So with the bottom one, maybe it's something with one of their machines.
Possibly. Maybe they're wanking over it before it goes out. Who knows? Battle plan tutorials. So this one, it goes how to set up armies. So it explains territories, which are obviously the bits in which you set up. And despite what you may think, or despite what we've done so far, territories can vary. They're not always just one end to the other end. Coloured areas and max unified territories. Setting up units. When both players have rolled or determined, they can begin setting up their units. It explains here that most of them will ask you to line up a certain distance from your enemy's territory. So your or your enemy's side of the board. So your side of the board is obviously one side, the enemy's side is the other side, and you measure from the centre of the board. Yeah, your enemy's, in this case, your enemy's territory is there, you're there, and it's asking you to set up 9 inches away. It's got a bit confusing there because it goes territories are where you set up the model, but then it includes the entire, your half and their half as territories, and then sort of tells you to measure X inches away, and measuring the X inches away sets up, I think, your actual territory there. Both players continue to set up until all units have been deployed, which we know. And then it's got how to use objectives, placing objectives. If a battle plan has objectives, then it will say where on the battlefield they're located. Sometimes it does, sometimes it will say you have this many objectives, your opponent has this many objectives, and you can choose to place them. In which case it usually alternates picking one. Sometimes it will say there are 5 objectives and players alternate between picking them, with the player starting second getting the first choice, or the player starting first getting the first choice, to deliberately bias it one way or the other. And despite what you might think, you might not want to put all your objectives on your side, if that's the case, particularly if you're playing a very aggressive force. I used to play Space Wars in 40k, and I always used to confuse my opponents by putting all my objectives in their side. And they go, why are all your objectives near mine and on my side? I was like, because I'm not planning to be on my side after turn 1. Why would I put my objectives where I'm not planning to be?
I want to kill your guys whilst achieving my objectives. No,
pretty much.
Go back over here and let you do your thing.
That can apply also to this if you've got objectives in your enemy's half, or if you're choosing where the objectives go. If you've got an aggressive army, you know, where the objectives go, how you deal with the objectives can be very important. If there are objectives in your territory and the objectives in the opponent's territory, and you just need to get one objective and kill a bunch of units, and you're confident you can kill them, then you can. If you want to ignore your objective, just go hell for leather to the opponent's objectives and slaughter his armies without having to leave anything behind. There we go. But anyway, refer to the instructions on the image of the battlefield provided with each battle plan in order to see where each objective should be placed. Obviously, with this, we're probably going to see each objective being specifically placed, because that's what they do. Often objectives will be shown using distances in inches, but sometimes the distance will not be numbered. This is usually because the objective needs to be placed in a central position no matter the size of your field. Victory conditions. Most battlefields that involve objectives are won by controlling more objectives than your opponent. Up until now, all the battle plans we've had have worked on what's affectionately known as total annihilation, which means when one player has no units left on the board, the other player has one because he's totally annihilated it. Surprisingly, Age of Sigmar, not fully designed to be played that way. Playing it that way is okay to begin with, but certain armies are much better at it than others. Whereas objectives are hopefully designed to give you a more balanced feeling of play. Some armies are much better at objective play. Some armies are much better at hit and run attacks. Some armies are much better at just running forward and screaming. And how you play can determine what you're best at. If you're a very fast army but you're not very hard hitting, then moving around the battlefield and then going in to steal the objectives at the end can be a great way of doing it. You know, you harass the enemy, you try and hold them out of position, and then you just disengage, run around them and grab the objective. They haven't got time to catch up with you last turn, suck it. Can be a great tactic. If you're someone more powerful and heavily armoured, then marching up to an objectives early on and sitting on them and just daring your opponent to come and get you can be a great objective. If you're just good at killing things, wiping your opponent out, and then, yeah, can be a great objective. A lot of games do have total annihilation as a win condition. Some of them don't. I prefer the ones that don't, because some armies will just roll forward and kill, roll forward and kill. It can be much more. It can be very boring. Objectives tend to make for a more interesting game. But anyway, so that, yeah. Some battle plans require players to check who controls an objective at the end of each battle round, while some are only scored at the end of the game. So again, you can see how that will change your tactics. Refer to the victory conditions of each battle plan to find out how to win the game. Other objectives or secondary objectives. Oh no, this is just different types of objectives. Other objectives. Rather than an objective marker, a piece of terrain or other specified area will be used as an objective. If this is the case, it will be indicated in the battle plan. Usually these objectives are controlled by having more models on or within the piece of terrain than your opponent, or by having more models within a specified distance of the terrain feature. And again, you refer to the victory conditions. So that's pretty cool there. They haven't gone through secondary objectives, but you can have secondary objectives like first blood, like kill the warlord, and things like that. Like if you're the first to wipe out a unit, you can get objectives. You can get objectives at an objective point. You can get objective points for each unit you wipe out. You can get objectives if you kill their leader. You can get objectives if you're the first one, points of the first one they kill. Usually with objectives like that, which are secondary objectives, they're worth less points. And I think you see them less in Age of Sigmar. I know they're prevalent in 40k, but they haven't run it on this. So hopefully they'll have stuff like that in the next issue. Maybe they don't do secondary objectives in Age of Sigmar. I haven't played enough. Now we've got a nice short story here to get you going for the battle. Do you want to read that bit? You have to do a silly voice.
The tangled depths of Spitefront thicket.
I said
thick with
silly,
magic,
not daft.
and are capable of slowing the progress of even the spectral Nighthaunt.
Cool. Yep. Nice story, meant to basically spark your imagination for the next battle. Next battle is Breaking the Siege. Let's see if this is any different. It is different. Cool. Stormcast Eternals must hold Spitefold thicket and stop any more ghostly reinforcements making their way towards the ruined ancient city that lies beyond. The armies are, this week's pretty much the same. For Nighthaunts, you'll need a Guardian of Souls, 10 Chain Rasps, and 3 Spirit Hosts. For the Stormcast, you'll need a Lord Exorcist, 5 Secretors, and 3 Castigators. So not too bad on the numbers. Objectives. Set up one objective at the centre of the battlefield as shown on the map below. And you can see there's the objective. Set up. Place the terrain on the battlefield as shown below. So we've got the 2 pieces of terrain there and there, which is where they're set up. Well, which is where they're drawn on the battlefield, which is cool. Players alternate setting up starting with a Nighthaunt player. Units supposed to be set up wholly within their own territory. In this instance, territories are being measured as 6 inches from the edge, which puts you a little closer than you were. I don't know if you can see, but the lightning bit and the kind of skull effect don't go all the way across those areas. So you've got a bit more place to set up, and you're a bit more space to set up, and you're a bit closer to the enemy. Nighthawk player has the first turn, and then you follow the reference sheet. And this one, Glorious Victory. The game ends at the 5th battle round. The player who controls the objective at the end of the game is victorious. Players control the objective by having more models within 6 inches of its centre than the opponent does. So basically, it's sort of pile on and survive. So that's cool. Again, the fine things, and this time also you've got some objective markers there. I find the best way to do them is to get something like Pritt Stick or Yoo-Hoo Glum. You can use stuff like your white PVA glue, but I find it wrinkles things. If you use so much, you've got to be very sparing. Stick the objective markers on cardboard. Usually like cereal packet cardboard is about the right thickness, and then leave them. And once the glue is fully dried, you can cut them off, and it's actually easier to get them on, and it's easier to cut them off than it is to try and cut off the flexible paper. Okay, next week we have issue 32.
Skulls.
It has a big pack of skulls.
Separate skulls, so yeah.
You might be aware of the big pack of skulls GW do. It's something they brought out partially because it's great basic material, partially because people joke that they have a problem with putting too many skulls on things. So they said, here's more skulls then, BB, just for fun. But they're still good. They're great for decorating bases, decorating battle boards, whatever you want. So you've got Citadel Skulls, how to paint your model's bases, core rules attacking, so that's pretty cool. And that's issue 32. Issue 33, so there's the skulls for issue 32. Issue 33, you'll get into mud. Glorious mud. You'll get Sterling Mud, which is a texture paint, and that's actually pretty cool. It's like somebody put thin sand or maybe baking soda or something of that consistency into paint and mixed it about 50-50. So what you've got is kind of a kind of gritty sludge which looks like mud. It's great for doing your bases, not so good for doing battlefields unless you only use small amounts of it. So that's a thing. You can, if you are doing battlefields, you can get brown paints and mix them with stuff to try and create something that looks like Sterling Mud, but matching the colour can be tricky. So you want to consider what you're doing with your bases, if you've got your own battlefield, and what they're going to look like on it. Are all things to think about when you're painting bases. And you're also getting this doohickey, which is for spreading stuff. It's basically for spreading Sterling Mud, Astrogranite, and any of the other textured colours. So that's pretty cool. And the magazine's covering Sterling Mud and Texture Tool, Manfred, Mortarch of Night, and Core Rules Battle Rounds. So that's going to be cool. So you'll be able to start having more free and easy battles, having battles in between that aren't just rehashing the battles you've done, but also the battles you've done are quite good. So you'll be able to start working out different stuff for your guys. Hopefully they'll have building armies and points costs and things like that, or at least touch on them, but they may well not, because not everything, well, because of Age of Sigmar doesn't have points costs as the base game. You just pick what you think would be fun and play that. But there are points costs out there and things like that you can get, which will tell you how much a unit roughly should cost when equipped a certain way, and so on and so forth. So you can try and balance the games. But the reason GW don't do that is because it's impossible for a company to make a perfectly balanced game that no one can break. There's always going to be some combinations which make your guys so much worth so much more.
And some people who just absolutely love breaking a game.
And some people just actually absolutely love breaking games. I've got my friend of mine, Simon. He'll play balanced stuff against you if you say, he'll play like soft stuff against you if you say, look, I just want a fun game. But if you say, oh, I don't want to be a hard game, he just loves finding the most broken combination ever and bringing it to the battlefield, and then usually apologising through the entire game. Anyway, that's I will see you next week, and that's goodbye from me.
Toodles.
And toodles from her.